In ancient times, it was the custom to mark the boundaries of lands by means of stone pillars, the removal of which could cause much confusion as the people had no other guide to distinguish the limits of their property. Hence, those peculiar marks of distinction by which Masons are separated from the non-Masonic world are called the landmarks of the order. The first requisite, therefore, of a custom or rule of action to constitute it a landmark is that it must have existed from a time whereof the memory of man runneth not to the contrary. Its antiquity is its essential element. In October of 1858, the Quarterly Review of American Freemasonry published an article which enumerated 24 distinct landmarks of Freemasonry, and they are as follows.
Brother Chaplain, does a belief in the Supreme Being fall within the meaning of a landmark?
Yes, a belief in the existence of God as the grand architect of the universe is one of the most important landmarks of the order. It has always been admitted that a denial of the existence of a Supreme Being is an absolute disqualification for initiation. The annals of the order never yet have furnished or could furnish an instance in which an avowed atheist was ever made a Mason. The very initiatory ceremonies of the first degree forbid and prevent the possibility of such an occurrence. Also, subsidiary to this belief in God as a landmark of the order is the belief in the resurrection to a future life. This landmark is not so positively impressed on the candidate by exact words as the preceding. But the doctrine is taught by very plain implication and runs through the whole symbolism of the order. To believe in Masonry and not to believe in a resurrection would be an absurd anomaly, which could only be excused by the reflection that he who thus confounded his belief and his skepticism was so ignorant of the meaning of both theories as to have no rational foundation for his knowledge of either. Additionally, it is a landmark that a book of the law shall constitute an indispensable part of the furniture of every lodge. I say advisedly book of the law because it is not absolutely required that everywhere the Old and the New Testament shall be used. The book of the law is that volume which, by the religion of the country, is believed to contain the revealed will of the great architect of the universe. Hence, in all lodges in Christian countries, the book of the law is composed of the Old and New Testaments. In a country where Judaism is the prevailing faith, the Old Testament alone would be sufficient. And in Mohammedan countries and among Mohammedan Masons, the Quran might be substituted. Masonry does not attempt to interfere with the peculiar religious faith of its members. The book of the law is, to the speculative Mason, his spiritual trestleboard. Without this, he cannot labor. Whatever he believes to be the revealed will of the great architect of the universe constitutes for him the spiritual trestleboard, and must ever be before him in his hours of speculative labour, to be the rule and the guide of his conduct. The landmark, therefore, requires that a book of the law, a religious code of some kind, purporting to be an exemplar of the revealed will of God, shall form an essential part of the furniture of the lodge.
Worshipful Master, surely the use of signs, tokens, and words constitutes a landmark.
Yes, indeed. The modes of recognition are, of all the landmarks, the most legitimate and unquestioned. They admit no variation, and if they ever have suffered alteration or addition, the evil of such a violation of the ancient law has always made itself subsequently manifest. Also, the secrecy of the institution is another and most important landmark. The form of secrecy is a form inherent in it, existing with it from its very foundation, and secured to it by its ancient landmarks. If divested of its secret character, it would lose its identity, and it would cease to be a fraternity. Whatever objections may therefore be made to the institution on account of its secrecy, and however much some unskillful brethren have been unwilling in times of trial, for the sake of expediency, to divest of its secret character, it will be ever impossible to do so. And even were the landmark not standing before us as an insurmountable obstacle, because such change of its character would be social suicide, and the death of the order would follow its legalized exposure. Freemasonry, as a secret association, has lived unchanged for centuries as an open society. It would not last for as many years. The division of symbolic masonry into 3 degrees is a further landmark that has been better preserved than almost any other, although even here, the mischievous spirit of innovation has left its traces. And by the disruption of it, concluding portion from the degree, a want of uniformity has been created in respect of the final teaching of the Master's Order, and the Royal Arch of England, Scotland, Ireland, and America, and the high degrees of France and Germany are all made to differ in the mode in which they lead the neophyte to the great consummation of all symbolic masonry. In 1813, the Grand Lodge of England vindicated the ancient landmark by solemnly enacting that ancient craft masonry consisted of the 3 degrees of each enter apprentice, fellow craft, and master mason, including the Holy Royal Arch. But the disruption has never been healed, and the landmark, although acknowledged in its integrity by all, still continues to be violated.